Hello, my name is Uzair. Easy way to remember. Knock, knock. All right, cool, right on. So I'll be talking to you guys about Cleu, where it came from, where we're headed, and what we're hoping to accomplish. So I am joined by my team, so feel free to reach out to any one of us throughout the night to get further details. Background on Cleu itself. It's been out for about 2 years now on the App Store. It is an alarm clock for your iPhone. One of our first challenges was resolving the current Apple alarm clock. Some folks hit it in their sleep. Some folks set up multiple alarms to make sure they get up. But since it is the first and last interaction point of the day, we wanted to make sure we resolved that. So we did. It's available to download for free on the App Store, but we will be talking about Cleu 3 and Cleu going to the Apple Watch tonight. So this is the next fold of Cleu, and this will be releasing next Friday. All right, so we'll be talking about 3 things tonight around the Apple Watch development process. Since it was a bit challenging for us, we'll dive a bit deeper into the watch side, but again, we can get into the iPhone stuff if you guys do like, because that is a major component of Cleu. So 3 categories in the first research section. We'll cover research, we'll cover prototyping, and then we'll finish off with development. So the smartphone consumer. Cameron brought up that I used to work at Apple and Tag Heuer as well. Through these roles, not only was I helping launch the brick and mortar locations and observing how the customers would work, but I was able to see, particularly through Apple, how customers use the iPhone. When the iPhone came out, it isn't too challenging to sell the phone, but when customers ask you what app should I download or what should I do with this thing, it really forces you to learn the App Store and see what people are doing with it. So through Apple, we were able to get a lot of findings around smartphone behaviors, how people are using these devices, what it takes to create something that someone checks into multiple times a day. Some of the apps we're used to, they're great, they're exciting up front. We might use them for a little bit, maybe even a week or 2, and then we delete them. So what is driving that behavior? And again, for us, it goes back to that daily behavior engine, the alarm clock. That's what brings our consumers back. The watch consumer, through Tag Heuer, I was able to see how folks are utilizing these. Well, Tag doesn't have digital wearables, but considering Apple recruits heavily from Tag Heuer, and Tag is the most innovative watch company in the world, we were able to get some great findings around price points that people are looking for, design cues that people are intrigued by, straps, metal bands, sizing, all of these cues that are so important now on the watch. And then we also did some nap research. So 2 components on the current Cleu. One standard alarm is the nightly alarm. That's what our customers use at night. They go to bed with it. 2 out of 3 customers take their smartphones to bed, so you're not alone if you do as well. But napping is something that our customers do during the day. And that's why it was so exciting for us to bring that component to the Apple Watch. There's a lot of limitations around battery power and power consumption on the watch, so we wanted to create something that our folks would use during the day, and they would leave their watch to charge at night, just like Apple recommends us to. So here's some visual cues of how that process looked. Again, we don't have too much time today, so if you guys do want, we will dig deeper into this stuff. We have all the files you want, and all the team members need it as well. On the left, we'll see one of our first whiteboarding practices. This is something that anybody in product development is well familiar with. It's drawing ideas out, breaking them down with the team. So this was between Jason, our UX designer, and myself, and Dylan, our Objective-C designer at the time. Dustin, who is our Swift developer, he's actually back there as well. He's covering the watch development. But you'll see that we had to figure out the interface. How many screens will it look like? What will the buttons look like? The nap card sort you see in the middle, that's the practice going on with Jason and a tester. We are figuring out what times people like to nap. You know, do you like to take a 20-minute nap, a 10-minute nap, a 30-minute nap, 60-minute nap? Below that, you'll see the pre-WatchKit SDK. So that means prior to Apple giving us the resources that we needed to actually start developing and submit for approval, these were the mock-ups that I actually initiated with. And what I want to highlight here is you'll see on the very right, I created a screen for durations. And this was, the thought was create a whole separate screen just like you normally do. But when Apple did give the resources, they introduced a new gesture which is called Force Touch. Some of us may have heard about it, but it's a deeper touch on the screen that brings up a whole nother menu. So I'll show you guys what that looks like as well on the further slides. And on the right, I wanted to show you guys a comparison of what it looks like for us on the iPhone. We have a lot more resources on the iPhone. We have devices to test on. We have a lot more screens. I believe from Jason's last word, I believe it's around like 70 some screens, that you could really get into once you're customizing. But the interface itself is pretty dead simple, which you'll see from if you download it. The second component, or the second section I wanted to get into, was prototyping. So this is, again, challenging, right? How do we prototype or show someone something that can't be played with yet? We can only show so much, excite people through images or videos, but we still have to take into consideration all the specifications or the limitations around it. So in prototyping, we had 3 components. One was actually visual prototyping, doing whatever we can to get something visual in front of our users or in front of our customers. Visual design mocks, these things were used for more testing color schemes, social media testing, seeing what colors people respond to, what questions arise when folks see color, what do they think it's supposed to mean, and then we work backwards from that. And social testing is referring to, at the very basic level, just sharing it with folks in the public, right? Early enough, you're getting some feedback. If you get enough folks that don't like something or bring up detractive feedback, then you can go back and correct, right? We have a little bit of time before the release next week. So here's some visual cues to show us how that process worked. Up top on the left, you'll see the color testing. So this was done by our visuals designer, Daniel. We played with a few colors here, but some of the questions that arose from customers when they saw this was, do the colors mean it's my mood? Does it mean it's the time of the day? And none of these we've defined yet. We're actually sticking to our main color scheme, which is with the blue that you'll see, but it already shows you where we could go with it, right? You find out these things, and if we take out AM, PM, and we add a color, does that mean now the customer knows what time of the day it is? Is that a little bit easier to understand? Can we use more visual cues? On the right, top right, icon testing. Looks very simple. It's just an invert of colors, but what we wanted to highlight here is power consumption on the watch. Anywhere you see color as opposed to black, that's pixels being used on the screen. That's power being used. So what we actually had to do was make sure whatever color schemes we chose that we take that into consideration. So you'll see a lot of black in our backgrounds on our colors. The icon that we ended up going with, though, is on the right, and that was because on the home screen of the watch, it's also black. But going through the approval process, Apple does like to have some distinction between the background and the icon itself. So that's why we ended up with the blue background on the icon and the black dots as opposed to the actual interface, which is more blue dots and a black background. Below that, we see notifications. So in the watch, you have 3 types of notifications. You have glance, a short look, and a dynamic look notification. The one that we see on the left, that is a simple short look notification. Glances are, some applications are using them, but they're sort of like sliders. But it's a quick notification. This is mapped up to our iPhone application. So this thing doesn't work without the iPhone app. That's very crucial to know. And on the right, you'll see that's a more detailed dynamic notification. So what we'll be doing is we'll be able to bring over your first appointment and your name and what in the label, good morning, good evening, good afternoon. So when you do get that vibrate after taking your 20-minute nap, it'll buzz on your wrist and it'll say, good afternoon, Kelly, Tim, your first appointment is this. That's it. That's your interaction. Very quick, very concise, but it is relevant to the product itself. That force touch I brought up earlier, that's what we see over here. So this is the interface. That's what it looks like when you actually hold your thumb down. Something to know here, which annoyed the crap out of us, but this transparency in the back, this is something that we still don't know what it will look like. Will we see some transparency behind and see color through, or some mock-ups actually have no transparency whatsoever and you could use any color in the menu? We've gone with worst case scenario on this one, so we've assumed that we will be seeing some color in the back, so we had to refine that approach. But you could see that's where the durations went now. Instead of a whole separate screen, we now have 2 screens instead of 3, but that menu is embedded in. Hero imagery, you can see how the icons line up. It's a small screen. I think at the simplest point, it's very difficult to bring an experience into these small screens. We joke about it a lot back at the studio, but you know, it took us more time to figure out these screens than it does, gosh, like almost half of the iPhone application. You know, it really forces you to clean out the crud that you don't need at all. But the more you test, the more you play with it, the better it gets. Even our animations on the top left in the color testing space, you'll see those, it's a stack of GIFs, GIFs, whatever you want to go with. But these animations, they don't play like videos or any other animation that you might have seen. These are stacked images. So as the duration is counting down, those images are stacking up. And I believe we have like around 100 some images that are stacked together just to create a nice little animation around the time when you are taking a nap. And then development. So development is, you know, when we start programming, right, we're playing with it. We have an iPhone application already that's heavy in Objective-C, but our Power Nap component came in on Swift on the Apple Watch. So we were working with Swift, new language. Luckily enough, 2 of our team members, myself included, or actually 3 of us, took the mobile class at GA, so we were fresh with coding going on. We got the watch specifications down within that class, actually, and we started prototyping there. We learned about power consumption limitations. We learned about color limitations, screens. Something to know is, you know, when you're working off the iPhone, there's a little bit of a delay. You know, that experience that you imagine on the iPhone when you press a button and something happens immediately, that's not the case when you have a slight delay. And that can totally change your user's experience, or your customer's experience. Something to consider. So what we did was, like, our timer is counting down. We actually started asking for the information that we need prior to it ending. So that way it's ready to go when that notification goes off. Xcode simulator, we don't have the device, right? We can't play with the watch, and Apple hasn't invited us up yet. So we have to play with Xcode. Now, Xcode is the IDE, the application that you would use to develop. But Apple is kicking out updates to Xcode to support the development community with the watch, but it doesn't go nearly as fast as you want it to. You have to test your product within a simulator, so it's a screen on your computer, right? And you get the large iPhone screen, and you can play the watch as well, but it'll play together. Your application both runs on the iPhone and the watch together on the simulator, and you have to make sure those things are mapped up and they're working well. And then beta testing itself, you know, we're in it right now. So it's been a bit challenging. We can beta test all we want, the iPhone application, but the watch application, actually, we can't even push to test flight. If some of us are familiar with test flight, it's a platform that we use to beta test mobile applications, but we still can't push files with a watch extension within it. So we have to use things like Crashlytics or Fabric off of Twitter, but that still allows us to test our product. But we still can't test the watch component until we have a physical watch. So it'll be interesting for us. You know, we're mitigating all the risks that we can, but it'll be a little bit of a surprise. Luckily, you know, our interaction is so dead simple that it's working well. Now we just have to focus on the customer experience and their response. So when they do download the application next Friday, when it does come out, it'll be interesting to see what these folks say. So after development, this is what we get. So this is our hero shot right now. This is the ecosystem that we're working with. Again, the iPhone is getting Cleu 3 with intelligence, which means it's been an alarm. Now we are integrating with smart devices. So the first device we've integrated with is Nest. We actually also have that to play with today if you guys like, and that will be releasing next Friday. We will also be able to give you guys beta access. If you do have Nest thermostats, you will be able to play with Cleu. And have your thermostat turn on and change temperature upon wake up. Cleu will come to the Apple Watch in the form of power nap. So this will bring in 2 more interaction points throughout the day. Our customers currently touch base with us at the first point in the morning and at the last point at night. With power nap going to the Apple Watch, now we will add in 2 more interaction points during the day. And you could see how this could grow. We're just starting with Nest right now. We're already playing with Hue, Uber, and SoundCloud APIs to really enhance and personalize your wake-up experience. The watch will grow. It's only iteration 1 right now. We're very excited, but we can already see how Apple is supporting us with future thoughts, guidance. But if the power goes straight to the watch and we can run things solely on the watch rather than running them on the phone, then it gets really quirky and interesting. So that's what we got for you guys. We're gonna be upstairs. We have the iPhone application for you guys to play with. We have the watch application for you guys to play with. We have designs for you guys to sift through. We have code if you guys want to sift through. We literally, we have the whole team. Everyone's here from Cleu. So anything you guys want to learn, we'd love to share with you because it has been interesting for us nonetheless. But that's what we got for you. Wake up smarter next Friday.